We're going to start tonight with a story about something that might be considered the comeback of the year. Actually, when you think about everything that's been involved in this, you might consider it one of the big comebacks in the last 100 years. It's been a long time coming, a day worth celebrating, especially for Metro East communities. 6 years after it was shut down, the brand new toll-free version of the old McKinley Bridge was being dedicated on this gorgeous November day. There was, of course, plenty of talk about cooperation and economic development, and of hopes that Illinois and Missouri can agree to build a brand new bridge on Illinois' terms.
And it is now toll-free, toll-free, and the new bridge will be toll-free.
It had been hoped when they set the November 17th date that the McKinley Bridge would be open to traffic again. But there were still some finishing touches needed on the $50 million project, so this became more of a sneak preview. It was 97 years and 1 week after the original grand opening of what had been, and is again, one of the area's most unusual bridges. This isn't our first time up on the new McKinley Bridge. We've been keeping track of this project now for a couple of years, but until now it really hasn't been getting a lot of attention, and that's understandable. The McKinley Bridge is hardly the city's most prominent. It sits north of downtown around a bend in the river. After it was shut down, a lot of people may have simply forgotten about it. Although if they'd ever driven across it in the old days, that they would have remembered. In an age of multi-lane interstate bridges, the McKinley Bridge remained one of the last of the great white-knuckle adventures for drivers. It wasn't so much the two center lanes under the trusses. It was driving on those outside lanes that just hung off the side above the river like shelves on a wall. It looked like they'd been added on at some point, but engineers say they were part of the original plans for a full-service bridge in an age of trains, horses, early automobiles, and pedestrians.
They were always part of the original construction to allow trains to go through the center and allow other forms of transportation to go on the outsides without obstruction from the trains.
This is probably a pretty creative design for its time, though.
Yes, it was a creative design for its time.
Its time was the first decade of the 20th century, and back then you couldn't find a more famous bridge builder in America than Ralph Majewski, a Polish immigrant best known for the San Francisco-Oakland Bay Bridge. The Illinois Traction Railroad, later Illinois Terminal, built this bridge to handle freight trains and the electric passenger cars from its extensive interurban system. It was billed as the world's longest electric bridge, and it was named for William McKinley, not the assassinated President of the United States, but the living president of the railroad. The grand opening in November of 1910 was a big event with parades and fireworks. This was, after all, just the third bridge crossing the Mississippi River at St. Louis, and the governors of Illinois and Missouri met in the middle to shake hands and to praise the joining together of two great industrial areas, the Tri-Cities, Venice, Madison, and Granite City in Illinois, and St. Louis's North Riverfront. By the 1930s, car traffic had grown so much that the center of the bridge was converted to handle both vehicles and trains. The Illinois Terminal continued to run its electric commuter cars from the Metro East across the bridge and right into downtown St. Louis until it stopped service in 1958. And then it sold the bridge to the city of Venice, Illinois, which figured that the revenue from the tolls would pay operating costs, pay off the loan, and maybe make a little profit. They figured wrong. When the Illinois Department of Transportation said the bridge was unsafe and ordered it closed in 2001, the city of Venice was unable to pay for the repairs, and it still owed money on the bonds. But the bridge was still seen as important to the area's commuter traffic and to future development along the Route 3 corridor in the Metro East. And a complicated deal was worked out involving state and local governments to pay off Venice's outstanding debt, and for Illinois and Missouri to take over responsibility of operating and maintaining the bridge. And then the work began. When you see what they've removed from the old McKinley Bridge, you get a pretty good idea of why it had to be shut down. This is the surface of one of those outside lanes, and this here This is the beam that was holding it up. It is those outside lanes that are getting the most attention. Crews first remove all of the roadway surface, which, with quite a bit of effort, comes off in sections. Then, hanging off the side of the bridge, workers use cutting torches to slice off each of the triangular supports, which are then lifted out and sent off to the scrap heap. Brand new supports, pretty much matching the originals, have been made, and they'll be bolted into place to support the rebuilt outside lanes. But this latest update of the McKinley Bridge will once again see different lanes doing different things.
The traffic will only be inside here. There will be no traffic on the outside of the cantilevers. The south side of the cantilever will be for the bikeway portion of it. There will just be traffic on the inside, and this one's for inspection and maintenance vehicles on this side.
So actually, no more traffic on the outside?
No traffic on the outside. It will just basically be in the middle.
They will be doing some work on the center lanes, but that part of the bridge has held up pretty well over its 90-plus years.
This is the railroad portion, so it's designed for railroad loads versus car loads. So this is a pretty stout area right here.
As far as bridges go, I know this is an old bridge, but is it a solid bridge, a well-built bridge?
Sure, yes. Trusses are normally good, solid structures, so, eye-appealing isn't there, but it's still pretty good, sound structure.
It was really the long land bridge, the highway approach from Interstate 70, that engineers decided had to be torn down and completely rebuilt. And this was tricky because of the narrow right-of-way right through industrial property. And today's planners had to deal with issues that the original builders didn't. Environmental problems, some of the soil on the approach was contaminated, and there was a peregrine falcon living on the bridge, and they actually had to build a new nest for it on top of a nearby building.
This was one of those love-hate relationships with this project. We all loved to work on it due to the complexity and amount of coordination that it took, but we all hated it at the same time because every time you turned around there was something new.
So now there are going to be 2 more lanes over the Mississippi River connecting Illinois Route 3 and Interstate 70 in North St. Louis. And that's significant. As all the speakers were saying, the more lanes, the better. But it's very possible that the buzz about the McKinley Bridge is not going to be about the cars and trucks. That rebuilt outside lane, this is what it looked like about 6 months before the grand opening, would have been narrow for cars and trucks, but now it is plenty wide for pedestrians and cyclists. And this is what might make the McKinley Bridge famous. A separate project funded by the Great Rivers Greenway District transformed the old Illinois Terminal trestle into a paved pathway. It breaks off from the existing riverfront bike trail north of downtown to join up to the McKinley Bridge.
This is actually joining 2 states together, where 2 states can't really figure out how to do a road bridge. 2 park districts on each side, our neighbor on the east side, has figured out how to do a bike bridge across. It's 3,000 feet across the river here. And with the combination of the branch street to get you up there, it's going to be almost a mile of just looking. I mean, as you elevate, as you raise yourself above the city, you can really see the city in a different light.
Yeah, you expect it to be a draw. I think
it will be a destination.
Because it's a building, it's a structure, and that makes it a little more interesting. I think
it will be a destination.
The Trestle Parkway will be open to bicycle traffic sometime in 2008, and it will be only one of 3 of its kind in the world. The others are in New York and Paris. What was shut down in 2001 was an old, deteriorating McKinley Bridge. What was reopened in 2007 was a brand new bridge for a new age and a new century. There will still be those who simply drive down the middle to get from one place to the next. But once again, there's an opportunity to take your time, to pedal or walk across one of the world's great rivers, and to get a whole new perspective on where we live.